Back in July 2019, thegamer.com ranked all the Dishonored abilities across the entire series. The list was made by Daniel Alexander, and what we're going to do is we're going to go through this list and I'm going to give my opinions on it. So, starting off, we've got number 14, Windblast. So, I've already got issues with this list because how the fuck are there only 14 abilities on this list? I've done some calculations or some basic math or whatever, and I've come up with 26 abilities. Now, there are slight variations on certain abilities, like, for example, in Dishonored 2, you've got Blink, then you've got Redirected Blink, which is a subsidiary ability of Blink. It's not exactly a different ability, but it's a subcategory of that first ability. So obviously, we're not going to count that. And with the first game, you've got Blink, and then you've got Blink 2. So they're not two different abilities, but they are the same ability. It's just an upgrade on that first ability. So if we go through it, the first game has about 10 different abilities. And then we go on to the Knife of Dunwall and the Brigmore Witches. So Dowd has a very similar skill set to Corvo, so there's not a whole ton of new abilities that we're introduced to. The only three different abilities are Summon Assassin, Pull 1 and 2, and Arcane Bond 1 and 2. And obviously Summon Assassin is 1 and 2 as well. So that's 3 new abilities. Then we go on to Dishonored 2. And like the first game, in the Knife of Dunwall and the Brigmore Witches, Corvo has very similar skill sets because obviously his skill sets don't really change from the first game to the second one. So you just disclude all those abilities like Bend Time, Blink, Dark Vision, Devouring Swarm, Possession. So all those aren't brand new. The only new abilities we get are from Emily Coldwin. So we're talking about Domino, Doppelganger, Far Reach, Mesmerize, Shadow Walk, all those. So if we count those ones, that's about 8 new abilities. So at this point, that's about, what's that? That's 8 plus by 3 plus by 10. We're up to 23 new abilities. Just from, actually no, that's 21, sorry. That's bad math. So we're up to 21 new abilities. And this list only has 14. So let's go to Death of the Outsider as well. And I'm not sure if we should really include this because Billy Lurk doesn't have the Outsider's mark. So I'm not sure if we should really count her abilities. But for the sake of this video, because in this article they do include Death of the Outsider abilities, we're going to do the same. So if we include Death of the Outsider abilities, that's about 5 new abilities, and altogether we're up to 26. So once again, I'm not sure how the fuck they got to 14, but let's just go through this list anyway. So at 14, we've got Windblast, which I agree with it being last on this list because it's a very costly ability to use and it's very costly to upgrade. It's a very expensive ability, and because of that, it's not very effective because you're not going to be able to use it a whole lot. At number 13, we've got Dark Vision, which I completely disagree with. This is one of the most effective abilities in the game, and it's cost effective as well. If you use this ability properly, you'll never ever, I guess, drain your mana down. That was a very bad way to put it. But essentially, you'll never actually use any mana because if you use Dark Vision, your mana meter goes down, but it'll quickly refill back up. So it's like you haven't used the ability at all. Very, very good. cost effective, doesn't cost much to fully upgrade, and I think this ability should be at least in the top 5, if not in the top 3 on this list. At number 12, we've got Displace. So I might have mentioned this in a video. I think I have, maybe not. But Displace is a worse version of Blink and Far Reach. And it's way worse as well. It's not just a little bit worse, it's way worse. The range on this ability is a joke. It's not good enough to be a teleportation ability. And when I play Death of the Outsider, I don't think I really use this ability too often because the range is so ridiculously short that there's no point in using it. So I think 12 is about right on this list. So at number 11, we've got Doppelganger. Doppelganger can be a good ability, but in large groups, where this is where you really want to use this ability, it kind of falls flat because doppelgangers are really easily overwhelmed and are taken out. In terms of cost of this ability, it is okay. I think it is borderline, cost effective, but when you're summoning multiple doppelgangers, it gets really expensive, and to fully upgrade this ability, it is going to take quite a ton, and I think there are better ways to really use your runes. So this ability being outside the top 10 isn't really too much of an issue. At number 10, we've got Far Reach. So this is another huge issue. Far Reach is one of the most effective abilities in the series. So it should easily be inside the top 3. Inside the top 3. Top 5 maybe. But, alright, no, definitely top 5, but I think it should be in the top 3. I think Far Reach is a worse ability than Blink, but if someone was to put Far Reach as number 1 on this list, I wouldn't really have an issue because I think it is a good ability. It's cost effective, so it doesn't cost much to use, and it doesn't cost much to upgrade. Obviously, in Dishonored 2, there are subsidiary abilities within Far Reach, which make it a bit more expensive, but I think it's worth it. And also, it's a very effective ability. Its range is ridiculously good, and there's not many issues I have with this ability. At number 9, we've got Devouring Swarm. So this is a very good ability. Obviously, number 9 is a bit harsh on this list, but because I think it should be probably in the top 7 on this list. Excuse me. Because I think it is very effective, and I don't think it costs too much to use. I think it is, acceptable in the amount that it costs to use, and to fully upgrade it, I don't think is really, too much of an issue. But I do think number 9 is a bit harsh. At number 8, we've got Foresight. So I think Foresight is probably one of the most unessential abilities in the game. It's almost similar to abilities like Vitality, where you don't really need it. You can go through the entire game without using it, and it's not really going to affect you. And I think the point of Foresight, I suppose, is to give you an idea of what's going to be ahead and how you can sort of plan to kind of navigate through different areas. So as a stealth player, it should be a godsend, but at the same time, the time limit on it isn't very good, and the range on it is kind of a joke as well. So all in all, this ability should be outside the top 10. At number 7, we've got Blink. So another massive problem with this list. Some of these abilities are not being given the respect that they should, because this ability should be in the top 2, if not number 1. One of the most cost-effective abilities in the game, and the most effective, hands down. No question about it. At number 6, we've got Possession. So, this is one of the most expensive abilities in the series, so it should be outside the top 10. It's not an ability that you can use very often, so you can't go spamming it, which I suppose is a good thing, because if you could spam abilities like Possession, that would be a huge issue for the game. It'd break the game, but at the same time, it is very expensive to upgrade, and it's not an ability that you really want to use. At number 5, we've got Shadow Walk. So, Shadow Walk is a decent ability, but there's huge flaws in it. You can be easily overwhelmed, and it's not exactly that expensive to use, but if you're using it all the time, obviously that adds up. So, it's not an ability that you can really use that often, and it's probably best to avoid this ability because you can be easily spotted, and it does become quite expensive to use. And I think it does make the top 10 on this list, but just. And number 4, we've got Semblance. So, I think Semblance is probably the most godly ability in the series. I'm not quite sure how Arcane Studios came up with this ability, but it is a godsend. The way you can actually use this ability to, take over people's identity and take out other enemies is absolutely ridiculous. This ability could be easily number 1 on this list, and I might make a whole video about it. At number 3, we've got Mesmerized. Another worthy contender for number 1 on this list. This ability is an absolute joke. You can completely disorient multiple enemies at a time for large periods of time and take them all out. Absolutely ridiculous. And I don't know what more I can say. It's an absolutely ridiculous ability. It's cost effective as well. It takes a time to upgrade, but it's definitely worth it. And then we've got Bend Time, which is another joke of an ability, but unlike Mesmerize, it is very expensive to use, and similar to Mesmerize, it is very expensive to upgrade, but the main difference is that Bend Time, is an ability that you can only really use once before you have to try and refill your mana bar, whereas with Mesmerize, you could potentially use that ability, 2, maybe even 3 times. No, I think that's a bit much, but definitely 2 times before you have to try and refill your mana bar. And I think that kind of, destroys this ability because it is very expensive to upgrade, and by the time you fully upgrade this ability, you won't be able to use it very often. So I think Bend Time, I've been harsh to it in the past because I've said that, it's way too expensive to use, and, that makes it less effective, but I think it does make the top 10. And for number 1, we've got Domino. I'm not sure why the fuck this ability is number 1 on this list. Actually, when you think about it, this ability is very good, but I don't think it's nowhere near as good as some of the other abilities. Obviously, you can link multiple enemies and take them out at the same time, which does conserve ammo, and that comes back to it being a cost-effective ability because you're saving mana and ammo as you go along through the game. So a very, very good ability. I think, I think it could be in the top 5. Obviously the other abilities might push it out, but it's close to, if not definitely in the top 5. And yeah, that's about it.